bringing it to them all day. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Win or lose, we bringing it to you always. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Orange or black, we rebuild the pack. No matter where we at, you know we coming back. Section 336, we on this, so tune in. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Yeah, welcome to Birdland. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Now, here come the boys from Section 336.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Baltimore sports fans of all ages, welcome to Section 336, Next Generation of Baltimore Sports Talk. I am your endearingly considering host, Matt Soroka. And as always, I'm joined by a guy who spent his Orioles off day searching through Dr. Fauci's emails, the button lover Josh Soroka.
Now you're trying to remember, Matt, we've had this conversation. No politics on the show. People do not like political talk.
Oh, are emails political now?
Well, Fauci's a Nats fan.
Oh,
remember,
that's
he
why.
threw out their first pitch and all.
Yeah, we don't support Fauci and the Nats.
No, I don't know what I assume that's what you meant with his emails, talking about Nationals.
Yeah, I thought you were scouring for any mention of the Nats-Orioles rivalry there.
I was looking for it, couldn't find anything. It was all this Wuhan crap.
Maybe that's some kind of code word for the Nats.
Don't know.
That W, is that what that W's for?
Oh, yeah, the curly W, the
Walgreens. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that, so I just left that part alone.
All right, fine.
I'm sorry no mention to the Orioles or Nats.
Sorry to introduce you like that. I could have made any number of jokes about how hot Cedric Mullins. I put on Twitter that I compared Cedric Mullins' past couple games to that of slow pitch softball. Something we know a thing or two about, Josh. But
I've got
Mullins' numbers are slow pitch softball numbers.
Yeah, but he wasn't the Oriole Player of the Week. Did you see that?
Yeah. His actually came a little bit too late in the week, I think. Yeah.
Right. But Ryan Mountcastle was Orioles Player of the Week. So we have some fun stuff to talk about after recapping some miserable times recently. Yeah,
it's been a tale of this week since we last podcast. Right. It's been a tale of two different stories for the Orioles.
Yeah. So
it's pretty wild.
We'll have to get to that. You mentioned slow pitch softball.
Yeah.
And Friday, last time we talked, last week when we talked, I probably told you off the air that it was my playoff week for softball.
Playoff?
So we played a game on Wednesday where my team lost, which means we got bumped to Friday where we had games at 7 o'clock. If we won, we would play at 8 o'clock. If we won, we would play at 9 o'clock for the championship.
Okay. It's past my bedtime, but all right, go ahead.
7 o'clock game, we took into extra innings and won. 8 o'clock game, extra innings and won. 9 o'clock game, we lost in a walk-off.
High-scoring games here or low-scoring defensive?
Probably high-scoring, like 16 runs, I think, in the last game.
Yeah.
But so we lost. We got second place. But Friday night, I pitched over 300 balls. My body was so sore.
Yeah.
But what I really should have done is I wore pants tonight for the show. I should have worn shorts for the show. Because on Wednesday night, I had a line drive come back at me at the pitcher, and I now have this gigantic purple and black mark on my leg where I knocked down the line drive.
Josh, there's a word for that.
What's the word for it?
I believe the word is karma.
Oh, you mean hit a line drive at the pitcher?
For your history of taking shots at the pitcher.
Yeah. I
hope you got into an argument with the hitter about it.
No, well, the funny thing is that team I then had to play at the 9 o'clock game on Friday.
It's some bad blood there.
Again.
Yeah.
I'll show you after the show. I don't feel like taking my pants off on Facebook.
Okay, please. Even after the show, you don't need to take your pants off. It's fine. I believe you. It's a welcome.
So that was my week. Meanwhile, you put your house on the market we talked about last week, and you already sold it, right?
Yeah, I mean, between the shows, like I put it on the market on Tuesday night. By Wednesday, I had an offer, and by, I guess by Tuesday, it took a week. By the next Tuesday, it was sold. So yeah, it sold in less than a week.
And when does Trey move in?
No. We can talk about Trey later, but no, he's not moving in here. As far as I know, I really don't know anything about the buyer. But I think this is maybe a little bit above of what Trey. I mean, we have access to Trey's salary, and I think he could buy my house with one paycheck. So I don't think he's buying this house.
He could.
Besides, he doesn't have time. He's got to play baseball games. He doesn't have time to upkeep this yard. No. Which, by the way, I sold my house.
He's got money to upkeep that yard.
Yeah, I sold my house. Then yesterday, I mowed the lawn again. It takes half a day to mow my lawn, and I feel like I'm a sucker. I'm mowing now for somebody else.
Yeah,
I'm not pulling weeds though. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
We gotta get through all the home inspection stuff first.
Oh well, that's where you mowed the grass.
Oh yeah, I got we had that today. We had the home inspection today.
Oh, that's not bad. And you're planning. When do you have to be out?
July 1st.
You got to be out July 1st, or they move in July 1st.
We got to be out July 1st, and don't ask me where I'm going. Everyone keeps asking where you're going. What? Like you just assume because I'm leaving this house, I'm going to automatically go into another house. No, remember, it's not that simple.
The zany Burt Rohde had his entire life in a pod for 2 years.
Yeah, that's going to be us here in a minute.
Yeah, you can always come to Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and you mentioned Trey Mancini. I do want to, Josh. I want to spend a good chunk of time talking about Trey Mancini.
All right.
Okay, I want to get into the trade or not trade Trey Mancini debate. I want to handle it tonight.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the text of, hey, did you know this is where Trey Mancini lives that we got this afternoon?
No, I want you to go off the record on this, Josh, because I got some more information there. I don't want to share. I don't get into that in the podcast.
Because I was going to say, his neighbors right now, sort of apparently.
All right, Josh. Again, I don't want to go there right now with you. Okay, I don't want to go there with you. Like this is the personal stuff. I don't want to go there.
I know.
But no, I want to get into because I mean, it should Trey rent or buy? And if I was Trey Mancini right now, I would probably rent. To be honest, as opposed to buying. Just with Mike Elias at the helm, I would rent just to be safe, as opposed to buying. But I want to get into it today. I don't know if we want to do it now or later. I want to talk about the debate.
We will. But and I would think based on the story that came out this week on Trey, go ahead and buy. Because they're spinning the stories of Trey is the face of this organization. And remember, when Rock writes, Rock is employed by the Orioles. Okay. He's employed by Masson. So when he writes an article about Trey stepping up as a leader and giving the speech after the 14-game losing streak and helping this team guide this team through that, that's the Orioles putting out that Trey Mancini is the face of this organization.
Oh, cool, because I forgot he was on the Orioles between Ryan Mountcastle winning Player of the Week and between Cedric Mullins going 9 for his last 10 and hitting 3 home runs in 2 games. Oh, and today when they announced Grayson Rodriguez as the best pitching prospect in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, and when Adley Rutschman had another home run over the weekend, bumping his OPS, I think, to over 1,000 now. Yeah. Between all of that, I forgot that Trey Mancini was still a player on this team. So thank you, people, for reminding us.
I don't know where you're going with that one.
Well, I'm saying he should rent.
I think okay. I'll go with buy, but we'll find out. We have that still listed as our topics for special episodes that we almost need to have the whole episode dedicated to.
Yeah. But let's talk before we get into before we talk about the trade Mancini to trade or not to trade.
Yep.
This half and you mentioned it, Josh, that this has been a tale of 2 weeks. The Orioles maxed out at 14 games. And sometimes when you're in the midst of a losing streak like that, it feels like how are you ever, it doesn't seem like the team is ever going to win again just because there's no offense, no pitching. And then all of a sudden, I mean, on Sunday, we dropped 18. It was a football score, 18-3. We beat up on the Cleveland baseball team. And so after that, it feels like this team, could win a bunch in a row. And the other thing that's concerning about the losing streak, Josh, if you just look at the schedule, I know you're a big schedule guy. Who's coming up? And you were pumping up the portion of the schedule that we just finished.
Yeah, I know.
As being a softer, and that's the part that we kind of lost for all those games in a row against the Nats, against some softer teams, against the Twins, against some softer teams. And now
we got the Mets, the Rays, the Indians, Blue
We got
Jays,
the Mets
Houston.
who are in first place, the Rays who are in first place, the Indians who are in second place over 500, that we just had, just won that series. So the schedule actually gets a lot harder now in the coming days. But the signs are encouraging, specifically with our offense. I mean, we talk so many episodes. How many episodes in here did we talk about Ryan Mountcastle's struggles? Right. And that seems like he seems like he's figured it out. Right. It seems like he's kind of gone through that little slump. And sometimes these slumps, you say how with Trey Mancini, these slumps can happen and take place over an entire season. Right. So at some point, you start to write off the season for Ryan Mountcastle. But no, he's turned it around. And then we see what happened with Cedric Mullins. And I don't even want to hear, is Cedric Mullins an all-star? That's a dumb debate. Is Cedric Mullins an all-star? The only question is Cedric Mullins the starting center fielder in the all-star game? And if you look at his numbers, he's first in all bunch of offensive categories. He's playing gold glove caliber center field. Yeah. And Mike Trout's injured. So you can't – I do not see an argument that
I've got an argument.
Is not the starting center fielder in the All-Star game.
I've got an argument.
Yeah, what is it? He's an Oriole?
No, the MLB All-Star voting is stupid. And it's not based on stats. It's based on fan popularity.
Yeah, you know what? We've been so out of the All-Star discussion. I literally don't know how All-Star games work now. So I know the fans vote him in. I don't think they're
hanging chads anymore.
I know the fans vote him in. I know there's no hanging chads anymore. I know you can vote a million times on the internet.
Right.
But do the fans vote for the starters?
I believe so, yes.
So they decide who's starting?
Yes. And then the managers or whatever can pick some other people.
Right.
Yeah, or the players or something. Yep.
Yeah, but this team, I mean, we don't need to get all caught up on it, but it's kind of cool that we can make the argument for a legitimate argument for three players to come at during the All-Star game. This is not a Ty Wigginton situation where there's no one else, so we just have to throw in a token guy to the All-Star game. We have three legitimate guys who could make the All-Star game this year and deserve to make the All-Star game.
Yeah, it's true. And even when you look back, now that we've won some games and we put up a bunch of runs, and you look at that losing streak, a lot of those games we were close and we were in. And it was just some bad luck that continued that streak. So I'm back to enjoying the team again. After that 14 games was hard, but this week has got me enjoying it again. Did you see the stat that came out after yesterday's 18-run game about total runs scored?
No.
For the season? Who do you think has the Orioles? I'll tell you, the Orioles are 20th in all of baseball for total runs scored.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Yeah. The New York Yankees are 25.
Yeah, they're below the Tigers and a bunch of other terrible teams.
So when we talk about how our offense has potential, but our pitching sucks, that's exactly what you see right there. When total runs are that much higher than the Yankees, but the Yankees are way ahead of us in standings, it's because of pitching. Yeah,
the Yankees are bizarre too, because we thought their offense would carry them, and can their pitching hold up with that team? And it's been the opposite. And this, honestly, this is who I thought the Orioles would be all year. I thought they would be a team that struggled to pitch, but could put up some runs.
Yeah, I think we said we would see a lot of 7-9 losses.
Yeah, and now the offense is showing what it's capable of, right? And that's before I even thought that Cedric Mullins would be the best center fielder in all of baseball. But I just thought this offense had enough firepower with Trey Mancini and Santander, and if Austin Hayes would ever get healthy, and Ryan Mountcastle, of course, that I thought we had enough offensive power to compete. And you look at our starting rotation, was never built to compete. But I'm more, to be honest, Josh, I'm less surprised when we take 2 out of 3 from the Indians than when we get swept by the Twins. I expect us to be competitive and win games because I think we have enough talent. I don't expect us. I don't go to we're rebuilding, so it's okay we lose every game. I mean, I see this team as having young pieces that are going to be part of our future that are talented enough to compete with these teams. You also see us getting healthy a little bit, in the bullpen,
right? With
Hunter Harvey being back. I think that's a big boost, a big boon for our bullpen is the return of Hunter Harvey. I know. Hopefully, Austin Hayes will be back in the lineup too. But I think health is a big factor as well. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about. It feels a lot better to do the podcast after you win 18-3 than last week when we had lost like 10 in a row or something. When we did the
14
podcast.
14 in a row.
Is that when we did the podcast after we lost 14?
I believe so. I believe we won the day after our podcast.
Oh, really? All right.
I believe our podcast was the day of the last win, and then the day of the. I believe like our podcast was during the losing streak. It was kind of our fault for taking that time off.
Yeah, you could be right. And then we won two against the Twins, and then we took two out of 3.
Yeah, we lost Monday, which was the night of the podcast, and then we won Tuesday. Yep.
Yeah, and now we've only lost one game in June. So
we're
took
2 series.
Yep. And today we're not going to lose. So the streak continues of just being dominant in June.
And tomorrow we take on the Mets, which in theory I think we can beat the Mets.
We don't have to face Jacob deGrom in the series, which is good. Anytime you can avoid Jacob deGrom. There's going to be another Matt Harvey, pitching against the Mets. Hopefully that goes better in round 2 than it did in round 1.
Right, that'll be Wednesday. It's Zimmerman Tuesday, Harvey Wednesday.
Yeah, and Zimmerman's a guy that's kind of hard to figure out for me. Sometimes he looks really good. Other times he looks, like he should be back in AAA. So I think that's he's a guy that's, I think, still kind of finding himself while he's pitching for the major league team.
Right,
and that's fine.
right.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Now, the big breakdown for that one loss this week, as we're just getting all the news out fast, is John Means. And him hurting himself getting hurt Saturday. Clearly, as soon as he started pitching in that game, it was obvious that something was up.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like that. And what day was that?
Wasn't that Saturday? I believe it was Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, it's just weird, right? And then you come back.
Saturday.
You come back the next, because that was a game we lost, a bullpen game. And then you come back the next day and you score 18 runs.
Right.
So good bounce back for the Orioles. But yeah, I think they said that, he's been dealing with this thing for seasons. Like this is not the first time it happened last year and the year before that, like this shoulder soreness. And I don't know, like it's like when someone says that, I feel like they're trying to say that to comfort you. But I'm not sure like that's comforting me the way you think it is. Like to say that this is something that happens every year. If that's supposed to make me feel better about it, it doesn't really make me feel better about it.
You know what? It's one of those things that I will never understand as not being a major league player. It's just like when a blister takes out a pitcher.
Well,
I will never understand. A blister maybe a little bit because I can understand in my head how that'll affect things. But a sore shoulder, I feel like you just get a cortisone shot and you go out there.
Yeah, and that's a little bit weird, right? Because like I just assume at this point in the season, every pitcher's shoulder is sore, right? It's like who's throwing 100 pitches and their shoulder's not sore?
Right. It's like me saying I was sore from playing softball on Friday, but like if we had a game on Saturday, I'd go out and do it again. You just fight through it. So I don't understand the major league. How that's worked. Yeah,
but clearly it seemed to affect and people talk about it affecting his changeup because he can't get the same extension with the shoulder. So but I think it's like, I think it must be even hard for John Means, right, to identify because I don't know, like I'm sure his shoulder's sore a lot, but how is it like at this point it's too sore for him to pitch effectively when sometimes it's sore and he can still pitch effectively?
I think
it's a tough thing.
Yeah, I think it's something. I think it's mental, and I think it's mental. Hear me out.
There you go. You see Josh going to speculation. Here Josh goes.
No. Hear me out.
Speculation weeds.
Maybe mental's not the right word.
I disown everything you're about to say, but go ahead. No. I want no part of it.
Have you ever had like you don't even realize it, but because you like hurt your leg or something, you're walking with a slight limp, and you don't even realize it, but it's like your body kind of protecting your leg, and someone else might point it out to you, and you don't even realize you're doing it?
Sure.
I'm thinking it's something like that, maybe, where he can't. Pitching is so much about repetition and arm motion and getting that perfect arm motion that if it's just a hair off and you're used to going this way and then your hands is just a centimeter off, everything's gonna turn slightly different. So if your shoulder's sore, your body's probably, even without you thinking about it, making a slight adjustment to protect that shoulder, and that can screw everything up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Josh. Next, you can tell me about how he also is having a sore shoulder because of all the videos out there of him touching his glove like he's going to a substance, and now he's faking the arm injury so people won't get more video of him cheating and putting the substance on his glove and going to the substance on his glove.
Yeah, that's all crap. Those videos are all crap. I'm just trying to give a logical answer on how arm soreness becomes a major issue for a pitcher.
Yeah, and there is again, this is the question we talked about that we don't know. Like, will this happen a lot in July and August, September? Because right now we're just about to get past to the point of the amount of games they played last year.
Yes.
Right.
And that was the whole talk, right?
Yeah. And so you don't know. And they've been careful with John Means. They've been giving him 6 days rest, 7 days rest at times. Mm-hmm. And so now this seems like, I think what they're thinking is it's just another little, like they have the 2 off days this week, so they can, give him a 10-day rest. They can skip a start anyway. And this just allows the Orioles to bring up Zach Lothar or someone else to fill his spot while you give him, an extra off day rest. And I assume he'll come back and hopefully come back effectively. But this is, it's a left shoulder for a left-handed pitcher. Anytime, the arm, shoulder is involved with the pitcher, especially a guy who's been so effective this year, our ace of our staff, it's concerning.
Of course it is. It's especially a guy that we want to trade, right?
Well, I was going to say, this is secondary because I think all the trade talk was nonsense to begin with.
I agree.
But now if there wasn't zero chance he was traded before, there's definitely zero chance he's traded now, because no one's going to give up a bunch of their top prospects for a guy who they are not 100% sure is 100% healthy. Forget about that. That's not happening.
But remember, isn't this what was up with Means at kind of the beginning, middle of last season?
Yeah.
And then he went away, came back, and he was dominant again.
And he was dominant. Yeah, he ended the season last year as dominant.
Right. So the question is, how do they make this so it's not a yearly occurrence? Or control it? Because he looks so good when he's healthy, but you can't have him like all of a sudden he just falls apart in a game and he's out 10 days.
Yeah, and this year it doesn't matter. He can take 10 days off. He can take a month off. It's okay. And he can come back and pitch effect. That's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. But if he's going to be the ace of our staff, like, part about being an ace, right, is the ability to go out there and pitch every 5th day and give your team a chance to win.
Right.
And so we need him in 2022 and more importantly 2023 when they win the World Series. Like, we need him to be a guy who can go out there and pitch every 5th day. If he's going to be that ace kind of guy, he can't miss a month of season. Totally. To go take a break. But for this season, given last year's limited number of games, like, this might turn out to be, it's not a problem at all, right? Because you have to figure out a way to keep his innings down anyway. So this is just, another way to help keep his innings down anyway. And
another chance to watch young guys pitch and give Zimmerman, Zach Lothar guys opportunities to see if they actually belong in this rotation.
I've become so sour to these young pitchers, Josh. I was so optimistic
I know you are.
Wells and Lothar. I was just optimistic about these guys and Zimmerman. And I was excited about our AAA staff.
Right.
And now I'm done with these guys.
Except for Grayson.
Well, here's my guy. There's one guy in AAA who I care about. He pitched yesterday, was super effective. Just came up from AA. Kyle Bradish. That's the guy. He's a pitcher. And then Rodriguez and Hall. Okay, Rodriguez, Hall, and Bradish.
Yeah.
So if you want to call someone up to the majors, call Bradish up because he's AAA. Any of these other pitchers, I don't care about anymore. I don't care about them. I'm done with them.
And none of those guys, Rodriguez, Hall, none of those guys are projected to be ready next year.
Right. Maybe Bradish.
2023 guys. Bradish, right, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was saying, the other two.
Yeah. You hope. I don't know. Like you like Hall just was moved up. I mean, Rodriguez was just moved up to Bowie. Maybe you move Hall up to AAA soon. I mean, Rodriguez was dominant in his first start at Bowie, so you wonder how many starts. So you hope maybe both those guys can end the season at Norfolk. And I would argue, like, I don't understand why Adley Rutschman's still at AA.
And that was my follow-up question, is we're now in the month of June.
Yeah.
Shouldn't Adley be at AAA by now?
He should. And he's done everything he can at AA. Right. And I heard someone say this. I don't remember where I heard this, but I thought this was really smart. They said Adley Rutschman's walking way too much. They said the problem is in Bowie, the pitchers aren't good enough to throw him like a good enough. Like, that's why he's walking so much, because pitchers don't know how to throw strikes. I mean, you do see, like, you look at the minor league games, you see so many walks in the minors.
Right. So get him out of there. Get him up to Norfolk.
Yeah. I think the only reason I can think of is they like keeping him with Hall and Rodriguez, the next two future, like, stud pitchers for the Orioles. so you can kind of get used to them. You know, you know how to call their game,
Right.
build that relationship.
That worked for Weeders. We did the same thing for Weeders.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I were the Orioles, I would like to see, and this is just me being selfish and dumb, but I would like to see move everyone up to AAA. Our AAA team stinks. Get rid of those pitchers and give me Rodriguez, Hall, Bradish, and Rutschman catching. Give us a little teaser of the 2023 Orioles rotation.
All right. Speaking of pitching, John Means, you say, all right, no chance of trading him right now because of injury concerns.
Yeah, zero, negative.
Straight up. Would you trade John Means today for Kevin Gausman?
The only reason I would say no, Josh.
He's dominating out there right now.
Is the only reason I would say no is because Kevin Gausman's on a 1-year contract, so we don't need to trade for him. We'll just sign him next year.
Okay, we'll just overpay for Kevin Gausman.
He's on a 1-year deal. So, and John Means has several years left in his contract.
Yeah.
So just because of contract situation, all things being equal, though, if they were under the same contract situation, that would be a tough call. I'd probably still keep John Means though. But that'd be a tough
fearful
call.
of bringing Gausman back and him just being back to the old Gausman that we
I would too. We've seen that story before.
Yeah.
I would too. All right. You want to get into this Trey Mancini to trade or not to trade?
Sure. Why not? All right. Let's go.
I thought we'd do it like this, Josh. I based most of my life off of 3 shows: Seinfeld, The Twilight Zone, and Boy Meets World. My entire life is based on these 3 things.
All right. I made a Seinfeld reference today at work.
Yeah.
No one knew what I was talking about.
What was the reference?
Because they're all too young.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have a new employee, and I guess when he was out in the field with one of our guys, he was just he's the type of guy that just talks, and they didn't know he was joking, and he told them that he was a dairy farmer before this and has 15 years of raising cows and all, and apparently it was all just made up crap that he was telling them.
Pastroni, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just made up stuff that he was telling them, and I was explaining to my guys, you gotta put him in a situation where he has to use that dairy farmer and stuff, like George and the whale.
Yeah, the marine biologist.
Yeah, the marine biologist.
Sure.
So I mentioned it, and they don't know what I'm talking about. So then I'm sitting there explaining about George Costanza being a marine biologist and telling everyone he's a marine biologist, and suddenly he's at the beach and a whale needs help.
Yeah, that's not just a Seinfeld reference. That's the reference to the greatest Seinfeld episode of all time.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And I had a whole bunch of guys, and they're like, they're all like late 20s, 30s. And I guess Seinfeld was ahead of them. So they had no clue what I was talking about.
Well, tell them to go to Hulu.com and you can watch the whole freaking show there.
I know. And you know what they do? Complain that it's square.
What? Is that a thing?
Because it's not HD.
I didn't know that was even a thing.
I don't know why you complain, because everyone loves Instagram and those pictures are all square.
You're telling me when I watch Seinfeld, it's a different screen or something than when I watch a different show?
Yeah, remember when we were growing up, TVs were square. Now
so
they're
it doesn't fill up the
widescreen.
whole screen?
I don't know. I haven't watched. I watch
Seinfeld on Hulu all the time. I never noticed anything weird about it. But maybe it's in the square. I don't know. I don't pay attention to this.
I think there's bars on the side, or did they update it? Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's one of those things I have on the background and don't pay attention.
Yeah. So anyway, with this whole trade or not to trade debate, anytime there's a debate in my life, I always go back to Boy Meets World. The whole Topanga versus Lauren debate in season 5 of Boy Meets World.
Okay, but you're not taking Trey on a ski trip.
Right. I know. But Josh, how Sean and Corey decided, do you remember how they decided whether he should go with Lauren or stick with Topanga?
No.
Jelly beans. So,
all right.
And they made points for Lauren, get the jelly bean.
I remember that scene.
Points for Topanga, gets a jelly bean. Whoever has the most jelly beans at the end wins.
All right.
So we're going to make some points. I got some points here, Josh. You can add to any of the points I have. And I want you to tell me, like, how many jelly beans is this worth? Is it one jelly bean?
For a second. Let me see.
Okay. Where if it's one jelly bean, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But if it's 2 jelly beans, it's more important. And if it's 5 jelly beans, it's very important. But go ahead, Josh. What you got?
Do I need to go grab my jelly beans? They're in the other room.
Oh, I was going to do. I don't have jelly. I don't know anyone who actually keeps jelly beans in the house.
I've got some jelly beans in the other room.
Okay, can you go grab them?
You want them?
Yeah, go grab the
All
jelly
right, I'll
beans.
go grab the jelly beans.
Do you also have a scale while you're at it?
I do not.
What kind of scale?
I don't have a scale.
But yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah, I'll get the jelly beans for you.
All right, fine. Because I made a list of trade Trey Mancini versus keep Trey Mancini. And just like, in the end, that's how Corey chose Topanga. People forget Corey chose Topanga because Topanga got the most jelly beans. And to be honest, it wasn't even close. Like at the end of that, like they put the whole bag of jelly beans on the Topanga side. So Lauren had like 5 jelly beans and Topanga had like 700 jelly beans. It wasn't even close in the end. I don't know how close ours will be, but Josh has the jelly beans and we'll see which gets more jelly beans.
All right. I got some jelly beans. This is when the whole like multi-camera setup would be helpful. But all right, I got jelly beans.
All right, here's a little quick context, and then we'll start with the jelly beans.
All right.
Trey Mancini. He is an all-star, right? All-star player.
Okay.
He's 29 years old. This year, he's making $4.75 million. He's signed under contract through arbitration years till 2023. All right, so you have him this year and you have him next year, and then 2023 he becomes a free agent. He's making $4.75 million, which actually is the highest paid guy currently on the roster, which is kind of crazy. But that's the situation with Trey Mancini.
Okay.
So the two options are you can keep him and either like keep him and re-sign him or keep whatever. Just keep him, re-sign him, keep him and let him walk, whatever. Or in July, you can, or right now, tomorrow, you can trade him. All right.
Okay. All right. We got the context.
Right.
Trey Mancini. What are we going to do? All right. I got the jelly beans ready.
Let's start with trade him. All right.
All right.
The main argument, right, is given that he's an all-star and given that he has a year and a half left on his contract, every day you wait, his trade value goes down. So right now, his trade value will never be higher.
All right. That's one eggnog jelly bean for Trey Mancini.
Ooh, eggnog. Nice.
Yeah.
These are some the eggnog jelly beans.
Holiday favorite jelly beans. That's why
these are jelly beans that have not been eaten.
Exactly. All right.
So on the other side, you have Trey Mancini. He is a veteran leader on a team full of young players that will get kind of younger and younger each year as this rebuild continues. So a veteran, how many jelly beans does a veteran leader on a baseball team get you?
Oh, well, if we're doing one for just the highest trade value,
yeah,
then the veteran leadership, I am with a team of all young guys. Now, is the whole cancer storyline and part of the city, is that part of your veteran leadership, or are you going to make that a separate thing?
Josh, is a cancer survivor part of veteran leadership? No. That's another separate thing.
Fine. I'm giving, do you think 3 jelly beans for leadership?
Yes, I think leadership. I think we tend to value leadership more than younger people.
All right. I'm giving 3 pumpkin pie jelly beans for leadership.
All right, fair enough.
All right. What do you have next?
To trade him, he doesn't play a premium position, and so he's he would be easy to replace, right? Because he's a DH or first base or left field.
We already have guys on the major league squad that can play his position.
Exactly. So he doesn't play a premium position of need. We have other guys who could take his spot. So we can trade him and our team will continue on.
That's going to be 2 hot chocolate jelly beans.
Okay. On the keep side,
all right.
You mentioned it. Let's just get it out there. Cancer survivor. How many jelly beans is being a freaking cancer survivor?
Well, it's more than just cancer survivor. Because being a cancer survivor sounds very crass. Of like, oh, he's a cancer survivor. Let me put all the jelly beans on there. Okay. But it's more like he carried on the Mo Gabba torch.
Yes.
As far as like the city and the way the city loves him.
Yeah, here's the rest of my note. I didn't just write cancer. Here's the rest of my note. Okay. I kept notes here. I said, he's a feel-good story. I think the Mo Gabba connection is great. This is sports, right? Sports is about entertainment. It's about feelings and emotions and passions. You can't separate these from the game. And all the good kind of mojo is wrapped up around Trey Mancini, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's hard to quantify, but we're going to quantify it right now with some jelly beans.
All right, I got some candy cane jelly beans. How many are you giving them for this?
Oh, I think the feel-good story is important. What we don't know, like, does Mike Elias, does he think about that feel-good story and he says, what, that's not worth a single candy cane jelly bean? I'm not here about the feels. I'm here about the
I don't care about Mike Elias. I'm here for you and I.
Yeah, for me, it matters. It matters.
Me too. But does it matter more than veteran leadership?
You can have freaking anyone be a veteran leader,
exactly.
Right?
So we made veteran leadership three pumpkin pie.
So I think this has to be at least 4.
So you're putting cancer survivor above veteran leadership.
Josh, anyone, I could go in there. You're 40. You go in there being veteran leader.
Well, that's true. Last year it was Chris Davis.
Yeah, like, what does that mean?
So all right,
we're telling we're not going to trade Chris Davis because he's a veteran leader.
Fine, 4 candy cane jelly beans into the do not trade for veteran for cancer.
That's just me saying. All right, I don't like to trade players who have the feel good stories.
Right. Yeah. All right. Fine. Now this.
Do you want to trade Mo Gaba and turn him into a Steelers fan? How's that going to make you feel? That'd be devastating.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of like when Ray Lewis was going around and going to Dallas and stuff. Toying, even though it was the end of his career, it was still irritating.
It wasn't about his talent anymore. Like, he was not. Like, who cares? Like, even Ed Reed, when Ed Reed wanted to play with the Jets, like, who cares? He's not good anymore, but still, it ticks me off.
Or Suggs in Arizona and Kansas City.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples. All right, so now back to trade.
Yeah. And I think we screwed up with the first. What was your first item for reason to trade?
His trade value has never been higher.
Right. We only gave that 1 jelly bean. I think that should have been at least 2.
Okay. And because I want to add to that, his trade value can never be higher. And kind of with that, I don't know if this is a separate one or part of it. If you look at our team, Josh, I don't think you're trading Mullins or John Means. You're not trading those guys.
There's no one else to trade.
There's not a lot of high. You're not going to get a top 100 prospect for anybody else. Like, you might get one for Trey Mancini. You're not going to get one for anybody else.
Right. Everyone that you hoped to reestablish their career and trade them didn't work out.
Yeah. So the other reason to trade them is, so far, if you look at the minor leagues, the early returns, we don't know anything definitive yet, but the early returns say that Mike Elias has a really good eye for prospect talent. Like, this seems to be one of his gifts, that he can identify young, talented players.
All right.
And so when you're Mike Elias and you're trading Trey Mancini, you have more confidence that you're going to get a really young, talented player, because Mike Elias has a knack for finding and acquiring and identifying young, talented players.
All right. That's 2 cranberry sauce jelly beans.
All right.
For Mike Elias acquiring young talent.
All right. The other thing to keep Trey Mancini is he's an Oriole lifer. I don't know if that matters, but he was drafted by the Orioles out of Notre Dame, went up the ranks, played at all the minor leagues, and then has played his entire career with the Orioles. We come from Cal Ripken. That's who we grew up watching.
Right.
You don't see him like Cal Ripken anymore, but I think, does it matter, Josh, that he's a freaking Oriole lifer and we can make him an Oriole lifer?
I don't know. We don't see that anymore in baseball. I think of Chipper Jones in Atlanta. I think of Cal. I think of, I guess, Adam Jones. I'm only giving 1 for that. 1 jelly bean.
Okay, that's fine.
For Oriole lifer. Because I feel like that's very similar to all the stuff we did for him being part of the city and all that.
Okay, that's fine. But that's all. I mean, but Josh, the point I'm making is, if we had just signed him to like a 2-year deal, this would be a different conversation. But the fact is, we've seen him grow from a baby bird.
Yep.
I mean, we talk about his first home run game when his mom was there and, in the front row cheering.
Right.
And you're right. That kind of goes with the feel good story stuff. All right. To trade him. And here's the big one, Josh. Our window to win the World Series, as we talked about it, starts in 2023. That is the same year he's gone.
Yeah.
So why would you keep him when your window to win happens when he's gone anyway?
Good point. Well, if you keep him, you have to extend him.
Okay, so this assumes an extension.
Right. Which is more money.
Right. And what's going to be my next point, but we can mention it here. Trey Mancini at that point, at 23, will be 31. So you're extending a 31-year-old first baseman / DH.
Right. A 31-year-old that doesn't really have a position. That
doesn't bring defense to the table, speed to the table.
3 more jelly beans for Trey Mancini.
Argument to keep him. Speaking of extensions, the Orioles right now are not spending any money. We can afford, at this point in the rebuild, if we wanted this offseason sit down with Trey and give him a couple years at the end of his contract, so he's an Oriole until he's 33 and can be there for a couple of years of that window, we can afford it because right now he is, I mentioned before, he's the highest player on the current roster. Obviously, we're still paying Chris Davis, but he's, on the IL, so he's kind of technically not on the 40-man anymore. And we're still paying Alex Cobb somehow. But as far as player on the team, like Trey Mancini's the highest paid at $4.75 million. We can afford. He's not going to be super expensive. He's not going to be like
we can afford
Francisco Lindor, right? Like we can afford to tap on $15 million for a couple more years at the end of this contract. And it's before all the Adley Rutschman, the Grace Rodriguez come up to their arbitration years, where they'll be super expensive. So the timing works out. If you wanted to extend Trey Mancini, we can afford to extend him. So maybe that's a reason to keep him, that the money works out.
All right. How many jelly beans you giving for that?
I don't know, one or two. It's not a big deal, but it's 1 or 2.
All right. I'm going with 1 because that's what I was thinking.
All right.
That was a hot chocolate jelly bean, by the way.
All right.
In case you're keeping track.
On the other side of the salary, he is, I mentioned, if you take away Chris Davis, who's not in the 40-man because he's on the IL, you take away Alex Cobb because he's in California, he is our highest paid player. We're in the middle of a rebuild. We want to keep costs down. So it makes sense to trade away your highest paid player, who, by the way, is just going to get even more expensive next year.
Right. With arbitration.
Right. And if you re-sign, it'll be even more expensive. So don't you want to trade these guys and save the money and spend it when you're ready to compete? And we're not quite ready to compete yet. So it doesn't make sense to trade them now because of that.
Yeah, but I'm only giving 1 jelly bean for that because your salary right now is so low that it doesn't really matter.
I agree. Can you think of, I went through all my reasons for keeping him. Can you think of any other reasons, Josh, why we should keep Trey Mancini?
Is there a specific team that has had an injury that could use him? I know there's like if we wanted to trade Cedric Mullins, that would not be hard because a few teams have had some outfield injuries.
Yeah, but Josh, can I also say just real quick about Cedric Mullins? When we talk about these trade candidates, what do other teams want to see? A track record. We once traded for Travis Snyder, who was then terrible after we traded for him. Lunchbox, yeah. And part of the reasons why that shouldn't be surprising is because he's had a couple months.
What about Geraldo Pera?
Yeah, from Colorado.
Yeah, he was the hottest guy in the National League until he came to Baltimore.
Yeah, but both those guys, Josh, had no track record. Trey Mancini has a track record. I don't think any team is going to give you near the value for Cedric. They're not going to trade for him like he's the best center fielder in baseball. That's not where you're getting back for Cedric Mullins because people don't believe it because they've only seen it for a couple months. So that's why Cedric Mullins is not being traded because you're not going to get the high value for him because you'd be better off waiting until the end of the season or maybe even next year if you really want to trade him. But I think it's dumb to even have the conversation because no one's going to trade a guy for 2 months, especially if you think he's good.
Right.
But anyway, this is about Michael. I forget.
Right. What about those?
Oh yeah, the need of Trey Mancini. I don't know how much other teams need.
Okay.
I mean, he can play first base or left field or DH. He has some flexibility there.
Right. But those are like most teams have someone that can. It's like a super utility guy.
That's the spot when you don't know where to put a guy. Yeah, that's where they go.
Yeah. What about?
So maybe that is keeping him. That's an argument for keeping him, Josh, because maybe Again, that goes to the position, right? Where he doesn't play a premium position. So maybe the trade demand would be a little less for him than it would be if he played shortstop or something.
Right. So I'm throwing one in there. What about fans? That the fans will all get upset if you trade Trey Mancini.
Yeah. I thought about in my keep category. I actually typed it out. I typed out like attendance, and then I laughed to myself and deleted it because attendance isn't getting any worse if you trade Trey Mancini.
No, and all those people will complain, but all the people that complain are stupid.
Yeah, and
you can't take fan favor into how you build a team.
Really?
You want to win. I mean, you do as ownership, but like you said, attendance is already low. You're not going to lose. Everyone that you're going to lose from trading Trey Mancini, you already lost.
Josh, this weekend I was listening to 105.7 The Fan, the Bruce Cunningham show. You ever listen to his show on the weekend?
I used to. Yeah, I like Bruce. I haven't listened in a while.
Yeah, I don't mind Bruce. He had a guy call him. And the guy said, you know what?
I haven't heard any callers in a long time. I'm going to have to download the app.
Yeah, and I like this guy call. You know, when I'm about to tell you, you're going to think this caller's an idiot like all callers are. But I like this caller. He said he changed over from being an Orioles fan to a Nats fan. And there was one move the Orioles made. And not just a move. There was one thing the Orioles did that caused them to go from being an Orioles fan to a Nats fan. And after he said it, I was like, man, you're right. I want to be a Nats fan too after this.
With the World Series?
It was how they treated a certain player.
Adam Jones. Nick Markakis.
How they treated Adam Jones.
Markakis.
No, Adam Jones.
It's Adam Jones? All right.
Because Adam Jones said remember, this is going back where he didn't want to go to Philly to be traded.
Yeah.
And he got into a big thing and they wanted to trade him. He didn't want to be traded. He wanted to stay. They wanted to get rid of him. Right. And this caller was so disgusted by how they handled, not just getting rid of Adam Jones, but just how they handled the whole situation, that he was done with the Orioles. And so I do think, Josh, this is the Orioles. I mean, sports. We all can't be like Bert and just root for the jersey. Some of us actually get attached to players. And I think for like a 12-year-old boy whose favorite player is Trey Mancini, don't tell me it doesn't make a difference that he has an attachment to Trey Mancini. And you got to be objective here. And that 12-year-old fan's feelings doesn't matter because this is a business. Don't give me that nonsense. I think that matters.
I don't know. I think it matters to that 12-year-old fan, and it matters to that 12-year-old fan's father. But you can't run your team that way. If you did, then you would re-sign everyone's favorite players.
I agree. Like Hyun-Soo Kim would probably still be playing here alongside
and
Ryan
Flaherty would be a starter.
I agree, and I would have re-signed Brian Mattis. But
you can't do that.
But Josh, let me ask you this
Adam
question.
Jones. Hold on, back up. Was it the right time to get rid of Adam Jones, the baseball player? Well, since then, he has not made it in Major League Baseball. He's been playing in Japan.
He played 1 year with Diamondbacks, now he's in Japan. What does that tell you?
And there's people who watch him in Japan and say, oh, look, he has good stats in Japan. He should be back in the majors. That's a step down in baseball.
Yeah, I know. But it's more than that. It was how it was handled, Josh. Like when he said he didn't want to get traded to Philly.
I get it.
The Oriole fans and management lambasted him for not doing what's better for the club by being willing to be traded when really he just loved the Orioles. And why were we lambasting him?
He didn't want to take his kids out of school and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And he's just really, he married, I think, a Baltimore girl, like very involved in the community.
Right. I understand all that. I was more offended, and maybe it's just me, but I was more upset with how they handled Nick Markakis.
Yeah.
Because especially since we've seen Nick Markakis put up many more good years in Atlanta.
Yeah, and it came with some folks used the neck issue. Yeah, it was BS.
Yeah. So I can see that as a fan, but I don't know if management takes into account what will the fans think of this.
Yeah.
I think they do if it would affect attendance. The Orioles had 5,000 people at a game this week.
It's not good. Trade Trey Mancini have no impact on attendance. It can't be worse.
Yeah.
But Josh, let me ask you this very simple question. And I agree with you. Like, you can't make every decision based on emotion. This is why I would be a terrible GM.
Right. But it's
like,
probably,
you can't make every decision based
probably
on
one jelly bean.
Yeah. But Josh, one jelly bean, and here's why. Tell me, what would feel better to you as a fan? To win the World Series with Trey Mancini playing first base, or the win a World Series with some random free agent playing first base?
Hold on. That's not a fair evaluation.
Because you don't think it would matter?
No.
You don't think it would matter?
No,
as long as you
because
win the World Series?
here's the proper evaluation.
Okay.
What would make you feel better? winning the World Series with some random guy playing first base,
Yes.
or making it to the playoffs with Trey Mancini? Which one do you care more about?
No, you're twisting my words
No,
around.
you're twisting it.
You're twisting it around.
You're not, because remember, in order to trade Trey Mancini, we bring in prospects so we get better players. So hold on. So you can't say, well, what happens? Because guess what? If you're doing that, it would be really cool to win the World Series with Ryan Flaherty. You can't, you can't say win the World Series with this guy or win the World Series without this guy.
But all things being equal, Josh, you'd rather
you?
have that guy on the World Series team.
Sure, but I'd rather Jim Palmer be on the World Series team with Cal Ripken Jr. and Brooks Robinson at 80 years old on third base winning the World Series. You can't say that stuff, because the whole point is, if you're going to trade Trey Mancini, it's to bring in prospects so that you can win the World Series. So you can't say, well, all right, you're going to win the World Series. Do you want to do it with or without Trey? You can't do that.
But my whole point, Josh, is that this goes back to the argument about how we feel emotionally attached to players, and we tend to care more about players that we really like, and we root for players that we like and have good stories. And Trey Mancini's that guy.
I really liked winning the Super Bowl with Ray Lewis.
Yes, it would have been. It would have still been awesome without him, but it would be
awesome without him. But I also believe that his veteran leadership and him stepping up helped get that Super Bowl win. Yes. So the question, it's just a weird way you're putting it. Do you want to win with Trey or without Trey?
I don't. Ultimately, just want to win. I get it. That's the whole goal, is just to win it.
They're both win. And if you're winning the World Series either way, I don't care. All I want is that World Series. And
so you made me think of another point to keep Trey Mancini. So get a jelly bean ready.
All right, I got him here.
When you trade Trey Mancini, you're trading certainty, right? Like, you know what Trey Mancini brings. 30 home runs, going to get close to 100 RBI. He's going to bat 275. Like, you know what you get with Trey Mancini.
Fine. So I'm giving Trey Mancini 2 in the do not trade for that. But I'm responding to you, and I'm putting 2 in the trade Trey Mancini because we've already seen peak Trey Mancini. We're not getting any more than what we've seen out of Trey Mancini. And by bringing in a prospect, we could perhaps get further.
Or you could get a guy who never makes it past double A. You could get that too, Josh.
You could. Yeah, you could.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying with Trey Mancini, you have a certainty there. With a prospect, there's no certainty.
All right. Right. Sure.
There's unknown. There's risk.
Right. And they said the same thing about Brady Anderson after 54 home runs. And then he went back down to 30.
Yes. And then they said the same thing about Manny Machado. And you traded away a guy you knew, Manny Machado, and you got back prospects who turned out to be.
Well, and that's our special July episode that we're doing.
Yes, and that was not under Mike Elias, because Mike Elias would identify better talent for that trade.
Because in the past week, we did release Zach Pop, who was one of the key parts of the Zach Britton trade.
Yeah.
So when you talk about things that fail,
no. Zach Pop was part of the Manny Machado trade.
Really? I thought he was Britton.
No, he was no.
All right. Well, he's gone.
Yeah.
And Yusniel Diaz, where's he at?
He's, I don't know, somewhere in Sarasota.
He's on the IL. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's taking time off.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you know how these jelly beans add up?
No, let's go and add them.
All right. Let's see. All right. And on the Trey Mancini side, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Because I don't know how I feel about Trey Mancini. So I will follow the jelly beans.
All right. We got 12 jelly beans for Trey Mancini. 9. We got 12 jelly beans on the do not trade Trey Mancini.
We spent a half hour solving nothing. Awesome.
I wish this was staged, but I really didn't even count the jelly beans until just this moment.
Okay. Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Do you know this exact same thing happens in the Bournemouth Road episode with Topanga and Lauren?
Oh, it makes sense. So, so what happened next?
What happens next is, so they do this. They debate all the good qualities about Lauren Topanga. It turns out to be exactly even. I don't remember the number is. It might be 12 to 12. I don't know. And then...
well, we didn't stage this. This was all random.
And then Corey says... And then Corey says, no. He says, and then he drops the whole bag of jelly beans onto the Topanga side and said, you know what? I can live without Lauren. I can't live without Topanga. It's no contest. I choose Topanga. And so, Josh, I'm going to put all the jelly beans on the Trey side because I can't live without Trey Mancini. It's no contest. Trey Mancini stays.
I'm taking this other pile, and it's going all into the do not trade. All right, there we go.
Hey, but I know, and it's funny, Josh, because and I think the 12-12 tie represents.
It's hilarious.
It's a tough decision.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mike Elias is sitting in the warehouse just throwing those jelly beans back and forth.
Yeah, he probably turned this podcast to figure out what to do. And I'm sorry, Mike Elias. We're 12-12. We decided nothing for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike.
That's funny.
Josh.
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, it's two questions. After we had this whole debate.
Yep.
If you were Mike Elias, would you actively look to trade him? And B, do you think Mike Elias will trade him at the deadline? I
think what this 12-12 balance, what we don't have, and as we dumped all the jelly beans on the do not trade side, what we don't have that makes it a lot harder is we don't have the other bag of jelly beans, which is who you're getting.
Yeah, the return for him.
The return is impossible to project right now. We haven't seen any big trades in baseball yet to really know what the trade market's like this year. So sure, as far as actively trying to trade, I think you're always working. So I don't think you're actively trying to trade Trey, but I think as a GM, if I didn't know, if I was in Mike Elias' shoes, I'd have a big whiteboard, and I probably wouldn't want the players to see this, but right next to each player would be what their approximate trade value would be. And I would have a number system, and every player on my organization would have a number attached to them, or a grade.
You've been listening to too much Kevin Cusick.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
This is how football trades work, right?
Yeah, it would be like
for round picks, it's associated with a number, and you can trade a third round because like a third
I would have that.
Fourth round. Like
I would have that
numbers, yeah.
So that when someone calls me and says, "Hey, I've got 2 A's and a B to trade you,"
yeah,
and I can look on my board and say, "Well, A plus a B equals whatever. Trey, I've got valued as an A. Does this add up?" And then I've got my need value. I would have multiple. As a GM, I would have values of all my players as well as values of needs and where I see needs in our farm system. So I would be not necessarily actively trying to trade Trey, but my phone line's always open. And I know what I'm looking for Trey Mancini.
Yeah, I hate it when people say the phone lines are always open. Like the phone line is not open for John Means. You call about John Means, I'm hanging up. If you call about Sergio Mullins, I'm hanging up.
That's a lie. The phone
Judge, I'm hanging up.
I'll make you a deal right now that you'll say yes on John Means.
Okay, first of all, you won't because the phone's already hung up, so you can't. You'll be talking to a dial tone.
Hold on. But really, I want John Means. I'll give you. I'm the Nats GM. I'll give you Strasburg and Max Scherzer.
Judge, I'm not doing that because Max Scherzer's on the last year of his deal, and he's like 50. And Strasburg is the orchid who can't stay healthy. So no deal.
All right,
Josh, what I'm saying, Josh,
I'll give you Josh. I'll give you Shani Ohtani.
Josh, shut up. I'm
saying the phone line's always open. You got to have that value.
No, but you're being dumb. I'm saying any realistic deal someone's going to offer me for John Means, I'm turning down.
No, but that's where you have your value trade of what's realistic.
Yeah, but no one's going to offer me what I think John Means is worth or what I think Sergio Mullins is worth. So I'm not wasting my time. I'm hanging up.
Okay. All right.
No one's calling with Shohei Ohtani.
All right, but if somebody calls and says I'm interested in John Means, I'm not going to hang up the phone.
I've already hung up.
No, I'm going to say, well, what are you thinking? And as soon as they say too low A guys, mid prospects, I hang up. I'm going to hear what they're offering.
See, we're different. But I would listen for Trey Mancini. I would listen for him.
I would listen for them all. So,
Josh, you think? But here's the question. Last question. We'll be done with this.
All right.
If you were a betting man, you putting your money on Trey Mancini's trade at the deadline, or come August 1st, is he still an Oriole?
I think he's still an Oriole.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think he's traded.
All right. Next question. What value do you look for Trey Mancini? Because my thought is, if you are trading someone to me for Trey Mancini, that person needs to be in a need position, like pitcher, and immediately in our top 10 prospects.
Okay. I think I'll say two things. I don't think need matters very much when you're getting farm systems guys, right? Because position players move around all the time. We don't know where Gunnar Henderson will end up. Is he going to be a shortstop or third baseman? So need matters. It doesn't matter to me at all. As far as talent, though, the other thing I say about talent is when we have this conversation, fans always talk about like top 10, top 100 prospect, right? Like if I'm trading Trey Mancini, I want one top 100 prospect and maybe, a top 150 guy. But we saw Mike Elias trade Dylan Bundy for a guy named Kyle Bradish, who no one ever heard of before. He gets an Orioles system. He starts throwing 96 miles per hour. Now he's our third best pitcher in our system outside Rodriguez and Hall, and no one ever really heard him before. So I think Elias has an eye for talent. And so for me, it doesn't need to be a top 100 guy, top 10 guy. It's like it needs to be a couple players that Mike Elias identifies as potential all-star caliber players. And I think that's what makes it tough is because we want to do who was a top 100 prospect when we traded for him? Yusniel Diaz.
Right. I know.
I mean, I want Mike Elias. I think 100. I think Chance Sisco at some point was a top 100 prospect. Whatever. I want Mike Elias to identify talent. I think he's good at it, and that's why I'm so torn. But part of me is like, I want Trey Mancini to be traded just because Mike Elias does what he does best, like identify young players that he can turn into great players. And he doesn't have that many guys he can do that with, right? Because we don't have very many talented veterans on our team. But the other side of it is I like Trey Mancini a lot, and I don't want to see him traded. But if I was a betting man, I would say he's gone in July. I also think like Mike Elias has limited options this offseason, this trading deadline. Like Paul Fry,
and
maybe Freddie Galvis.
And
Mike Elias likes to make trades.
Right, we know Mike Elias is antsy if he can't trade.
Yes, he's looking to make deals. Like he's still in rebuild mode.
Yeah.
So he's still in acquiring talent mode. And so he's going to try to – and when he can't trade Matt Harvey and when he can't trade Jorge Lopez, he's going to go down and listen, oh, crap, who can I trade? And Santander, I don't know if he's going to be a trade Santander. That was the talk, before the season. But because the injury issues, I think they're better off waiting on Santander to the rest of the year and not trading him now because I think his value is so low.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be if he wants to trade anybody, get into real kind of high profile players back. It's going to be a Trey Mancini. That's it.
It's got to be Mancini, especially when you think Mountcastle being player of the week. He's starting to get comfortable. You want him in your lineup every day. If he can be your first baseman, that makes sense. Right now, Hayes is hurt. Santander's hurt. But you want those guys in your lineup as soon as they come back.
Yeah. And Santander's playing DH because he got a little ankle issue. But on the other side of it, like that's also an argument for like keeping Mancini in that there's been a lot of injury issues in the outfield. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're having trouble finding a spot for him.
You're right. But let's be honest. If you're going to win in 2023 or whenever, you got to get past these injury issues. Yeah.
I mean, and one of the arguments we also made is, well, we got a guy named Hurston Kerstad who's coming up and who's a left or right fielder who play one of those corner outfield positions. But he still has not played a professional baseball team in his career, even though he was drafted last year. So I don't know what to make of that.
Gotcha.
So, and Yusniel Diaz can't stay healthy. So maybe our outfield is not as deep as we once thought it was.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So
that's something to watch. I mean, I still don't know how I feel after this.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the fact that we ended on 12-12 is the appropriate thing.
I think this was more harmful than helpful, this whole discussion. I regret this whole thing.
No, it was a good discussion because it's the same. We went over kind of this is what you got to do. You can't go at your heart. You got to go with the jelly beans. Yeah,
something objective as the jelly beans.
All right.
Look to the jelly beans.
All right. Well, I hope people appreciate helping us break it down. Whether or not it helped us, who knows?
Yeah, and you can interact with us on Twitter. Whether you think we should. I don't know. Do I really want to know if you think we should trade or not trade Trey Mancini? I don't know if I really want to know.
I think you can just go on Twitter and you'll find out what people think. But let us know. Yeah. If you're a Patreon supporter,
there's arguments
people we care about.
Yeah, if there's arguments that we haven't thought of in this discussion, I would welcome other arguments for to keep or for to trade Trey Mancini that we did not talk about in this podcast, I would welcome those arguments.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
You ready to get out of here? We've gone for an hour, Josh. How you feeling about this show?
I think it was a good show. I think we can put off some ball four for next week.
All right.
I think we had a great Trey Mancini discussion.
Absolutely. And it was a long time coming. We need to have it. Now we can settle it.
Yeah.
And we don't need to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. We'll talk about it again in a few weeks.
Yeah, when it actually comes time to trade or not to trade.
I mean, we're getting close. Trade deadline's, 2 months away?
Yeah, I mean, pay attention, right? Pay attention to how Trey's playing. I mean, we've seen players get hot for a month and get traded. We've seen Oriole players, pitchers, get hot for a month and get traded.
Yeah.
So
June, July is when you want to look to trade him. I don't think he will be traded before the All-Star break.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think they want him at the All-Star game in an Oriole uniform. Again, because of those cancer jelly beans.
I agree. I don't think he's traded for the All-Star game.
So head on over to Camden Yards now. You've got a month left to see Trey.
Or you might have a whole another 3 years. We don't know. Yeah. It's 12 to 12.
Do you have any upcoming games you're going to?
I was just sitting down the calendar, and I have some games marked for Bowie and for Delmarva in June is what I'm planning. I have some games there.
Cool.
So
it's June now, right?
Yeah, I know. I have one more day of school, Josh, and then the summer begins.
Your summer begins tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow. My girls don't get out till Thursday, and I always thought Florida got out before everyone else. Well, because you probably didn't have any snow days.
We had 0 snow days because they were all online days.
Gotcha.
But yeah, but don't tell my wife. But I'm already. The summer break hasn't even started, and I'm already ready to go back to school, just so I don't have to watch my kids all day.
Well, yeah, and packing up the house.
Oh yeah, don't get me started. All right, boys and girls, thanks for listening to another episode of Section 336. Josh, looking forward to see your title. I would suggest it has something to do with Trey Mancini when you write the title.
Wait, you really don't know what the title of this episode will be?
Oh, Jelly Beans?
Jelly Beans. It's obvious.
You can follow us on Twitter at Section 336 Show.
Yep.
Or you can follow me on Twitter at Section 336. You can also follow Josh on Twitter
at Josh Soroka.
Thanks for listening, boys and girls. And as always, go O's.